Thank you for coming today. My name is Sherry Schoitzo. I am the Director of Financial Services here at Regency Oaks for over 6 years now. So today's presentation, let me start out with the most important part of this, is that this rate increase presentation is only for those folks that get their annual increase September 1st. Those are contracts that are dated prior, or move-in dates prior to 2016. So if you are a newer resident and you haven't received your annual increase and you've moved in the last several years, you will only get your increase on January 1st. You will also get a 60-day notice, a letter, and we will also do another presentation at that time, because there are multiple types of contracts, but the main difference between the September 1st increase and your January 1st increase contracts is that the increase calculation is a little different. It's CPI plus 2% for the newer contracts, and we'll go into more detail for the current one, September 1st. So that's everybody. Anybody that is a new recent move-in, this does not pertain to you. This increase will not happen for you. You will get your notification later this year, okay? I know there was a few people in here and a couple questions throughout the week as I was preparing for this. Okay? All right. Let's jump right in. So many of you, most all of you, have probably seen some of these bullet points that we talk about, but it is imperative to understanding our operations here at Regency Oaks. We focus on our three core constituencies, and those three include our residents and your families, our employees, and our owners, our shareholders. All three need to be in balance for us to operate a profitable business. Regency Oaks is a for-profit organization owned by Healthpeak, which is publicly traded on the stock market. What are our top line revenues? How do we operate Regency Oaks successfully to have a profit for our owners? It is our monthly service fees, also known as our basic service rates. This is the purpose of Regency Oaks. Our goals are to generate the revenue, to operate our business, to provide the services that you have come accustomed to and increased to, and this is how we will be successful operationally year over year. So, why does your monthly service fee go up every year? At Regency Oaks, our operating costs continue to outpace Consumer Price Index, also known as CPI. This is the term that's used in your contract that we will utilize these tables for your annual increase. CPI measures the change in prices paid by consumers for goods and services and reflects spending patterns. So the Consumer Price Index is published monthly by the government. You can go on their website and get their monthly newsletters, and we measure the change in prices year over year, not month to month. There are multiple ways to look at what inflation is doing, and when we do our increase annually, we're looking at a year over year change. Now, something to really remember is that our direct labor cost is not a part of CPI. CPI is a market basket of goods that comes to our door, and then it's Regency Oaks' responsibility to pick up those goods and provide them as services to you. Food, number one of our largest expenditures. We get it delivered, but then we have to pay all of our employees to prepare it, to serve it, purchase the supplies from other vendors to be able to present it to you. And so labor, which is wages and benefits, are costs to us that are above CPI. and as we know, we have been experiencing large wage and benefit challenges in our marketplace. So, this is a little graph from the most recent published CPI table, which in your contract outlines that the table we look at is for all urban consumers and the overall inflation that was most recently published. So I take the most recently published report, which was published June for May. So we are using May's CPI year over year increase, and for all items, it went up 4%. So CPI was 4%. Now included in that, you can see where, excuse me, the major categories are food. Now look at what food costs went up, 6.7%. So food alone, for me, when you start separating those goods that we're gonna purchase, it's already higher than the consolidated average. Energy. Well, look at this where there was a dip. Energy in total actually went down 11.7%. However, when you drill down on it, it only was natural gas that went down 11%. My electric costs for inflation were 5.9. So we don't use natural gas here, or very little, but I probably have 15 electric account utility bills for Duke Energy to pay. And so you see there that electric is above all items 4%. And then all items less food and energy, which is supplies, and there's a very, very detailed list that you could reflect at, was 5.3%. Again, higher than 4%. So I know there's a lot of data here, but the takeaway here and the reason for this table is what we did was, this is Regency Oaks costs last year to this year for first quarter. So I took 3 months worth of Q1 last year and our current 3 months and looked at what our weighted inflation costs were year over year. So we looked at the larger categories: food, insurance, utilities, our taxes, our wages. This is the weight. This just means that 8.5% of my total expenses are food. Here's my inflation factor that I experienced, that we experienced here at the community: 13.3% year over year, quarter to quarter. And so the reason why I'm going into this type of detail is because your contract states for September 1st, remember this is September 1st, it's very different for January 1st. Your contract states that I can increase your costs the greater of CPI or 5%. Now for those of you that were here last year, it was 8.6%. CPI was 8.6%. That was your increase. So it's the greater of those two numbers. So now you can see that CPI is 4%. Your contract states I can charge the higher of 5 or 4%. I'll go into a little more detail in just a minute. To go back to why our revenues are so important, why they have to grow, why do we have to offset to our expenses that increase and still operate profitably? We do it through the budget process. And we start putting in our current revenue figures, and then we build out our expenses. And we know that all of our general expenses are going to increase based on inflation. So I'm going to take a current spend and add my inflation factor. And then I'm going to add in labor, annual wage increases. You know, we provide an increase to our employees every year. And our benefits go up. We continue to add additional benefits. Our health insurance continues to go up, but we need to attract and retain our employees. So we have to have favorable wage and benefit packages against our current market in the area. Non-controllable costs, those are our taxes and insurance. While we can't control those here, those will go up. So again, it's another increase in our expenses. And then while we look at and determine what that percentage increase for you is going to be, we look to see how that keeps us growing and profitable and allowing us to provide cash flow to reinvest back into the property for our capital expenses. And we balance mission and margin. The mission to appease and keep all three constituencies happy. So this pertains to the folks that have their increase September 1st. It's only for the September 1st of each year. As I stated earlier, the increase is limited to the greater of 5%. I can't charge any more than 5% unless CPI is higher than 5. That's why I went through what we did last year at 8.6%. As we've been talking about, the May Consumer Price Index is 4%. So, the reason I went through all of those expenses and showed you my inflation rate that the community has experienced year over year is me providing to you the information on why I'm going to charge 5%. You can see as a community, I have 13% year over year. The max, so that table was to explain to you where those variances are and why that increase needs to be the higher of. So, as we continue day in, day out, meeting new residents as they come in, I look to you because you come to us with a wealth of experience, life experiences, and this is where you having a positive impact. We have committees of residents that align with all of our departments. You can, if you do not want to be on one of those committees, you have a resident committee representative that you can talk to, that then bring up to us, the managers and the directors, how to maintain our property efficiency, increase our services, and be happy. So again, share your ideas through your committees. We want to leverage your experience to help us. And if your attitude is to adopt what we call founder's mentality, you have ownership here. Having skin in the game drives excellence, and we want to make our community greater. And your referrals, your positive conversations with incoming residents, and I cannot stress that enough, that if you have or unhappy about something, please go through what we've set up as far as policies and procedures to express those concerns through your board committees, through your department managers, through the platforms that we have weekly for anything that might be dissatisfied. If you're to talk to a potential resident and really give them a laundry list of maybe what you're unhappy about, is not going to help the community. It's not going to help you, it's not going to help us. We don't want to drive people away. So, the one thing that I can't stress enough that every one of you can do, and the higher our occupancy, we can limit our monthly service fee increase by increasing our census, fill the buildings. We always talk about our referral fee that we will pay you. You are our best referral sources. I want to pay you for that, but I want a positive experience from that as well. So, we want to grow occupancy.
What's the current?
Where independent living is 91%. We are above budget in all avenues of our revenue, assisted living and skilled nursing. I'll report on that quarterly as at forum. I also report monthly to the Finance Committee Board all of those statistics. So, like I said, all of our departments have committees of residents, a resident committee, to be fully transparent of our operations and provide you with the information that you're entitled to. So there you have it. You'll get a letter by the end of this week. It will outline what your current fee is, what the amount will be, which will equal 5%, and what your total amount will be. That will happen on your September 1st bill. So you'll get that bill at the end of August, and the September 1st rate increase will be there. So again, we will do this exercise again in September and talk about the January 1st increase for those residents that get a January 1st increase. And again, the contract is different, CPI plus 2%. That's January. Their contract verbiage is CPI plus 2%. So just separate the two. September 1st, 5%. January 1st, we don't know yet. We don't know. You can read your contract to understand what it could be, but until CPI is published on September 13th, we won't know what your increase is gonna be. So we will do this exercise again.
So is it 5%?
For September 1st, your rate increase is 5%.
That includes the 2%.
2% only impacts January 1st.
Oh,
Sorry. 5% September 1st. We do not know January 1st yet. Dr. Carey?
I'm not an accountant, but I know you covered this, but it's a dumb question. Still, inflation was really up high last time and our fees really jumped up.
Yes.
Inflation is down substantially, and yet our fees aren't going down.
Well, you had an 8.6% increase for this time last year, and now it's only 5%, so it did go down. All right then. So please don't hesitate to reach out to me if you have questions. Meet with your resident committees. Please refer your residents, your friends and family to become our new residents. We all would greatly appreciate that. All right?
Sure.
Yes.
It sounds like, I wish we could have more conversation about this, but even though it doesn't apply to me, most of the people here probably, but it sounds like the people that are affected today by the explanation could be paying more or less than the people who will be affected by the next vote.
It varies. So 8.6% in 2022 for this group. It was 11.2 or 4% for January 1st last year. It all depends on what the CPI table is published. It goes contractually, and that is it.
Well, the White House is already bragging about how CPI is
And
down.
whatever it might be. That is how we cannot change we do not interpret your contract any differently year over year. It will remain the same so that you consistently know what's going to happen. We can't just decide to do something different. We hold ourselves and yourselves to the contract verbiage. Yes, sir.
Who owns Regency Oaks?
How are you doing, Mr. Helen? So our ownership is 100% occupied by a company called Health Peak Properties.
Health Peak?
Yes, ma'am.
Health Peak.
Yes. Yes.
And that means that what is Health Peak? What do they do?
So they're what's called a real estate investment trust company. And they,
What company?
so Health Peak was already 49% owned, our owners, when Brookdale was our owners. They just took over at 100%. They have been in the picture for many, many years prior.
Well,
Okay.
we have a pool, a swimming pool. Who uses it?
Many residents use it. It's an amenity, and what we do is we provide services to attract people to come.
What does it cost to maintain that?
I don't have the exact figures, but if
You
you'd
don't?
like to have a meeting on it separately, I can certainly answer your questions. So we're gonna wrap things up right now.
One or two residents that go there?
There's quite a few, quite a few.
I don't know.
So look for your letter at the end of the week. Please don't hesitate to call me and answer any of your questions. If you have any contractual questions, I'm happy to meet with you. Just give me a call. Thank you, folks, and you have a good day.
Thank you.